News Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM. KVNU.
It's now 4:05 at News Talk KVNU as we begin For the People on this wet Wednesday. I'm Will Feelwright, checking some of our top stories. Well, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has filed a federal lawsuit against the Mormon Stories podcast and its host, North Logan resident John Dehlin, alleging trademark and copyright infringement. Now, the complaint filed in the U.S. District Court claims that Dehlin and Open Stories Foundation had intentionally used the term Mormon and branding elements, including a blue logo with the light ray design, to create a false impression of an official affiliation. Now, church officials stated that the podcast branding capitalizes on the church's nearly 200-year history with the name to confuse audiences. Now, according to the lawsuit, the church attempted to resolve the matter through mediation, requesting a verbal or written disclaimer of non-affiliation at the start of each episode. Now, while Dehlin reportedly agreed to remove copyrighted images, the church alleges that he used a protected photo of a temple to advertise an episode just days later. Now, church leaders emphasize that their lawsuit aims to prevent public confusion rather than influence the podcast's content. Meanwhile, a jury convicted Tracy Marie Grist earlier this week of murder for her role in a 2024 plot to lure her son-in-law to Utah and stage his execution as self-defense. Now, Grist was found guilty on Monday of multiple charges in orchestrating the death of 42-year-old Matthew Ristelli. Now, prosecutors had argued that Grist had prepared her home for the killing, convinced her daughter to proceed with the plan, and then planted a knife in the victim's hand after he was shot in the back by her son, Kevin Ellis. Now, though the defense had argued that Grist only participated in a cover-up, her daughter testified that Grist was the mastermind behind the ambush. Now, the conviction follows the previous sentencing of Grist's daughter, Catherine Ristelli, and son, who are both serving up to life in prison. Now, Grist remains in custody pending her sentencing, which is scheduled for June 10th. And a sad story out of Hurricane, where the Hurricane High School community is grieving the sudden death of Preston Jenkins, a beloved football coach and mentor who had passed away earlier this month. Now, Jenkins, who served as a coach for the Hurricane Tigers for 2 seasons, was known for his high energy and a specialized talent of mentoring freshman players. Now, team officials described him as a sideline hype man who helped student athletes find confidence and purpose beyond the football field. Now, family members noted that Jenkins had recently been feeling unwell, which made his sudden passing a shock to the community. Now, affectionately nicknamed Captain GoPro or Mr. One Wheel by his players, Jenkins is survived by his wife of 5 years, Rebecca Jenkins. Now, a fundraiser has been established to help assist the family with funeral expenses. The football program, meanwhile, vowed to honor his memory during the upcoming season. Well, it's been a wet afternoon as we've had temperatures staying only in the mid-50s today, and these showers expected to continue as we head into the rest of the afternoon and overnight, as we'll see tonight temperatures dropping into the mid-30s, that chance of precipitation at 80%, and then we'll continue to see rain likely in the forecast Thursday into Friday. Looks like it'll start to taper off, though, by Friday afternoon, maybe into Saturday will be the last time we'll see some rain. And weather this hour brought to you by Matt Robbins. He's recently joined the Alera Group to give you more options when it comes to all your insurance needs. Give him a call today at 752-0101. And it's now 4:08. I'll have another check of local news coming up at the bottom of the hour. And on the way next, it's Jason Williams with KVNU's For the People Show.
Did you know you can cut your Rocky Mountain power bill by 40 to 50% without a single solar panel? With the new time of use rates, power is 4.5 times more expensive in the evening, but cheap during the day. At Greenbox Solar, we install smart home batteries that charge up when electricity is cheap, then power your home during peak hours. Solar is totally optional and can be added in the future, but savings are guaranteed. Drop by Greenbox Solar's showroom in South Logan to see the hardware for yourself. Visit our website at poweredbygreenbox.com.
Keeping you informed 24/7. News Talk KVNU 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
Hi everyone, it's Congressman Blake Moore here. Representing Utah's priorities in Congress and providing top-notch constituent service is at the heart of everything Team Moore does. We've had great success helping Utahns with expedited passports, visa processing, veterans benefits, immigration petitions, retirement issues, tax returns, and much more. If you need help navigating a federal agency, including the IRS, Social Security, the VA, Immigration Services, or Medicare, please give my office a call at 801-625-0107. That's 801-625-0107. We're also happy to help coordinate any U.S. Capitol tours, take your comments, and provide legislative updates at any time. I also want to invite you to sign up for my weekly e-newsletter. This is our most popular form of communication with constituents, and each week I share a personal takeaway, legislative updates, recent meetings, a member spotlight, upcoming events, and much more. Sign up today at blakemore.house.gov. It is an honor to serve you and your family in Congress. Thank you. Paid for by official funds authorized by the House of Representatives.
KVNU's For the People with Jason Williams and Bill Walter.
And it is Utah known as the fraud capital of the world. Not because we have more people committing fraud, but because we have so many people falling for it.
Going beneath the headlines and connecting you to the newsmakers.
The radio is a great way to get the word out to a lot of people in an emergency. So we thank you for your help and being a partner with us.
For the People on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM, 102.1 FM, online at 610kvnu.com, and on the KVNU mobile app.
Welcome to KVNU's For the People. It is Wednesday, April 22nd. Hour one of today's show, 38 degrees. So part of, radio is to just let people know the temperature, the time. It's just the way it's done. But I have to admit, part of me really enjoys reading the temperatures right now because it's been so all over the place. We were over 70 yesterday. 71, I think it was, as we started the show yesterday. 38 degrees here at the Radio Ranch at 4:11 in the afternoon. I'm Jason Williams. Thank you for joining us. We've got a lot to talk about today. Special guest joining us in hour two of today's show to talk about Utah's job market, specifically with school wrapping up and parts of Utah being designated as what authorities call a child care desert. There's concern among parents, obviously. There was a news report recently. I don't remember which local news station it was out of Salt Lake, but they had a report. They spoke with a woman who has two kids and is going to pay through the summer because she works full-time and is a single parent. She's going to pay $300 and some odd per child per week for child care while they're out of school. And she doesn't have, a choice, and that's the cheapest in her area that's within a reasonable driving distance and that she feels comfortable with for her children. That's just one example, but this is something that is a growing problem here in Utah. There's also growing frustration with the legislature, who have, in about 4 years in a row, despite all the red flags, not done much to take this issue seriously. So a report we talked about during the legislative session from the Voices for Utah Children has finally made its way into the public eye a bit more and shows that here in Cache Valley, we do have, child care deserts here in Cache Valley. We have areas of the county in which someone is going to have to drive more than 30 minutes to find child care, and that's a problem. As there are more and more families in Utah in which both parents are working full-time to make the ends meet. Childcare is just a part of their day, and it's not the purpose of public education, obviously, but public education does take some of that pressure off. If the kids are in school most of the day, that takes some of that pressure off. During the summer months, not an option. But there are larger, even cultural debates happening around all of this. So, Utah Department of Workforce Services is putting together it's really the best that can be done at this point. Hopefully, more is done in the future, but Utah Workforce Services, Department of Workforce Services, putting together kind of a child care option portfolio for the state, where you can search your area, find and compare child care options, and then also they're hoping that this allows them to collect more data about specifically where those child care deserts are. And again, a child care desert is defined by an area where someone either has no child care options or all child care options are more than a 30-minute drive away. I think another factor is if the costs are too high. If the costs would be more than a certain percentage of the average state's medium income earner's salary. So we'll talk about that. Again, a representative of Workforce Services joining us later on in the show to break down how they're putting this together and what they hope it can help. So also you heard during the news there from Will about the lawsuit over John Dehlin's podcast. Most people here in Cache Valley, I think, are familiar with this. The Mormon Stories podcast. It's been around for years now. Dehlin himself, various times over the years, has been a guest here on the show, and also a resident of the Valley. And this lawsuit over trademarks and copyrights. It's getting a lot of discussion online, but there are some larger questions around this too. When it comes to this type of thing in general, where are we drawing the lines on representation, on what is or is not an infringement on intellectual property or a trademark, or even a reasonable impression of facsimile? These are increasingly frequent questions as technology makes it easier for people to build large audiences. Twitter, for example, is now a monetization scheme for many people. The more likes and shares they get, and they have, actually had to crack down recently on accounts that were basically taking someone else's content, changing it just a little bit so that it would qualify as original content by Twitter's rules, and then reposting it with one word like wow or wowza or holy or can you believe this? That's all they would do all day long, and they were making hundreds of thousands of dollars from Twitter, for doing this. They're cracking down on it now, and it's hurt a lot of big, especially political influencers. So we'll talk about what this means, but also what it says about the current media environment, and I would say the need for people to be far more critical in their thinking and their consumption than ever before. So it's a conversation we'll get into later on with some really cool information about this coming out of Utah State University in general, about how all of us are consuming our news and how that's changing over the years. So one quick note on this. On July 4th, this year, as part of the America 250 celebration. Now, this was planned outside of the America 250 celebration, but they decided to incorporate it into the statewide celebration because it makes sense. But on July 4th this summer, a time capsule will be buried in front of Independence Hall in Philadelphia. And contributions from all 50 states were invited. Every state did actually pony something up. And we got the list today of what Utah will be contributing to this time capsule. Again, this has been renamed the America 250 Time Capsule. It will be buried outside of Independence Hall in Philadelphia on July 4th. And today at the Capitol, they presented the items that will actually be contributed to the time capsule as part of this America 250 birthday celebration at Independence Hall in Philadelphia. What Utah is sending to the time capsule for time immemorial, well, till someone cracks it open right after this.
Which cookie is best? Oh, add cream to your soda or not? Well, here's something we can all agree on. We care about Utah, and it's in danger because Great Salt Lake is drying up, crippling our economy and ecosystem. Even worse, toxic dust containing arsenic and mercury will blow from the exposed lake bed, threatening the health and safety of local communities. This isn't a future problem. It's already happening. You still have time to make a difference. Visit growgsl.org to learn how you can help save the lake.
This summer, experience clear vision without the daily hassle of glasses or contacts. Whether you're on the trail, at the lake, or just enjoying time outside, LASIK can simplify how you see the world. This is Dr. Karen at Northern Utah Eye Center. We use advanced technology and a personalized approach to help each patient achieve their best possible vision. If you've been thinking about LASIK, now is the time to see if you're a candidate. Call or text 435-752-2020 to schedule your consultation.
You're gonna love what you see.
$300 per junk vehicle at DD Auto and Salvage through this Saturday, celebrating Earth Week. Always the most money for junk vehicles. Plus, aluminum cans are worth 90 cents per pound. That's the highest rate in years. And vehicle pickup is available. Plus, DD Auto and Salvage invites everyone to a free barbecue lunch Saturday from 11 to 2. Happy Earth Day, Cache Valley, from DD Auto and Salvage on Valley View Highway in Logan. $300 per junk vehicle and 90 cents per pound on aluminum cans.
Earth Week is here, and Valley Recycling is the place. This week, Valley Recycling is paying top dollar for scrap metal, aluminum cans, old cars, appliances, and steel. Bring it in and get paid cash. Sign up for amazing giveaways, free snacks, and loads of prizes, too numerous to list. This is the week, and Valley Recycling is the place. Just bring it in and get cash. Come join the fun at Valley Recycling at 145 North 10th West in Logan. Visit valleyrecycling.com for details.
Coming up on the Thursday edition of the Clay Travis and Buck Sexton Show, the latest on the Strait of Hormuz. Trump is playing a big game of chicken with the Iranian mullahs. Who is going to blink first? Is there a deal in sight? We'll discuss that, plus the fallout from the indictment against the Southern Poverty Law Center, which seemed to be manufacturing racism. We shall talk more about this on Clay and Buck.
10 to 1 on News Talk KVNU, 102 FM and 610 AM.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. All 50 states have been invited to contribute to a time capsule that will be buried in front of Independence Hall in Philadelphia on July 4th, and Utah is included in that mix. And today at the state capitol, a exhibit was unveiled that is Utah's contribution to what's being called America's Time Capsule. This is part of the nationwide America 250 celebration. And right now at the Capitol, up until, I believe, the end of May, you can go see this exhibit. There are a lot of different things included. They are going to be sending, the state of Utah is going to be sending coins that will be Utah's contribution to America's Time Capsule that represent different historical events here in Utah. There are coins and pins from the 2002 Olympics and some of the pins that have been made already for the 2034 games. They haven't happened yet. There are also papers filled with signatures from Utah's statewide office holders, members of the legislature, members of the state's Supreme Court, some of the federal elected officials, and those over the years, not just current. And those sheets will be placed in a larger federal portion of Utah's contribution to the time capsule. This was actually mandated by Congress, an act of Congress in 2016 to build this America 250 time capsule. And a nonpartisan commission was set up by Congress to find ways to celebrate the semi-quincentennial. And again, this will be buried on July 4th, and it will be sealed for at least 250 years. It's not to be opened until 2276. That's a long time. So here in Utah, the State House and Senate, the governor's office, put together a committee of our own earlier this year, and they started working earlier last year, and they started working on not only events and celebrations for America 250, but this. What was Utah's contribution to the time capsule going to be? And what they came up with were trading cards. Not only trading cards, but that's the major contribution. These trading cards that are, again, on display in this exhibit at the Capitol until the end of May will go into America's time capsule, and they basically represent just a huge swath of history. Some of the people that are featured in these trading cards that were made to talk about Utah's history, there's Wilford Woodruff, Olive Osmond, charity founder, mother of the Osmond Group, who passed away in 2004. Olive Osmond got her own card. Kanash, the leader of the Pavant Band of Utes, who was he was, as the pioneers came into central Utah, he was sort of the peacemaker, and actually ended up marrying a young woman named Sally Young, and she herself a Southern Paiute raised in Brigham Young's household, and he was baptized a Latter-day Saint, but maintained indigenous cultural practices as his faith as well, and actually met with President Ulysses S. Grant to negotiate better conditions for Native Americans here in Utah. So Kanash got his own. There are also, public figures, famous newsmakers and reporters even. Gene Fulmer, the Norma's known, his nickname was the Mormon Mauler or the Cyclone. He beat Sugar Ray Robinson in 1957 and became world middleweight champion. His brothers did too. He learned how to fight at a West Jordan gym, and he joked in some writings of his that were found. He joked that he blocked punches with his forehead, but he was known as the Mormon Mauler. Gene Fulmer passed away in 2016, but born in 1931, and a pretty big figure in sports here in Utah. So those are just a handful of some of the cards that will be sent in. Now, of course, there are a lot of political entries. Labor and union figures from here in Utah made their way in. 100 different trading cards of people who in some key way shaped Utah and its history. Also, the U.S. dollar coin, minted in 1896, the year Utah got statehood. That's actually going in. That's actually been, I guess, in a Capitol museum for years now, donated by an anonymous donor who just found it. But an 1896 U.S. dollar coin that's been in a museum will actually make its way to this time capsule. They'll be buried on July 4th this summer and won't be opened for 250 years. They're also going to be sending 3 U.S. quarters depicting Utah's heritage and history, gold medal from the meeting of the Transcontinental Railroad in 1869, a chunk of the cornerstones of the Utah Capitol and the Salt Lake Temple. How they got those pieces, I don't know. I'm guessing during recent renovations and construction, but actual pieces of the Utah Capitol and the Salt Lake Temple are going to go in. Souvenir coins from Utah's statewide officers. This is interesting. A stock certificate from the Territorial Mine Red Warrior. That's going to go in. Historical amusement park tickets, a lagoon ticket. Yes, a lagoon ticket and a Great Saltaire ticket, both from museums around the state, have been contributed. Pins from the Olympic Games, I already mentioned. And then official signatures of current and former statewide officers, state Senate and House members, Utah's Supreme Court justices, and the state's federal elected officials. So that's a list of what Utah is going to be sending in. And again, all of this is currently on display in an exhibit for the next month at the state capitol. After this event, July 4th in Philadelphia, in September, Utah will celebrate the 250th anniversary of Father Escalante. This is kind of an interesting thing that will be, again, on display at the Capitol, but museums around the state, I guess, are teaming up to coordinate on this. And the idea behind this is to just kind of tell the story of some of the founders and pioneers that obviously helped make America, but in key ways either came from or came through and influenced Utah's development as well. The Dominguez and Escalante expedition, by the way, if you don't remember that, we all learned about it in our junior high social studies classes. But if you don't remember that, there are some great books out there on it. Short version: if you go down to the entrance of the monument, Escalante area, which is basically now the entranceway to the Uinta Basin, there's a sign that says Escalante crossed here, 1776. And this is a place that most people go these days to see dinosaur fossils. But while you're there, you can actually learn about this much more recent history than dinosaurs, though not that recent. The sign of the monument's entrance is to mark what is at least known as the first European expedition into this area, and they went straight into the Uinta Basin. Their journal recorded along the route described a chunk, large swaths of western Colorado, Utah, northern Arizona, New Mexico at the time, and it proved to be surprisingly accurate. Their mapping, even though this was an unexplored area to them, their mapping contrasted with today's map, satellite imagery, and more. They actually got it pretty dead on. And the expedition originally began in Santa Fe, New Mexico, with a simple goal. They wanted to find a northern route to missions that had been established in Monterey, California. And a Franciscan friar named Atanasio Dominguez was placed in charge and started organizing a party to do this. And his first recruit, he enlisted the help of fellow friar Silvestre Escalante. And the reason was that he was already familiar with a lot of the Native American tribes that were known along the northern frontier. And Escalante is given credit for leading the expedition since he kept the journal that recorded their daily events. But the fact is, Dominguez played a big role in it too. He was the one who made the most difficult decisions along the way. One of those decisions including going forward or turning back when they hit a certain point. And these two friars took a group of, I think it was about 20 people along with them, and they secured guides from local tribes and things like that as they went through this, again, completely at the time unknown country. And the expedition kicked off in July of 1776 and traveled through Colorado and then made their way into Utah. And it's a kind of a very cool story. And along the route, the group met the Utes, who they referred to as Utahs, Y-U-T-A-S. And they had a lot of interaction with them and recruited some guides from them, actually, to take them through the mountains. And then they gave two guides Spanish names, Silvestre and Joaquin, after members of the party. And those names were actually placed on their headstones when they passed away by their tribes. And in the middle of September 1776, the party arrived at what is basically Dinosaur National Monument. Obviously, they didn't know that, but that's where they stopped after killing bison near the Yampa Plateau. They stopped, and that was noted in their journals. And based on the mapping in the journals, you can see that they were basically sitting, right in the middle of what became Dinosaur National Monument. So pretty cool stuff. And some really cool photography of their original maps and journals, part of this exhibit as well. So that will be on display at the Capitol here in Salt Lake City in September as part of Utah's ongoing America 250 celebration. But again, July 4th in Philadelphia, the America 250 time capsule will be buried with trading cards, pins, coins, signatures, documents, tickets from Lagoon and Saltaire, things like that are Utah's contribution to this time capsule that will not be opened until the year $22.76. Check it out. Deseret News has some great photography from the exhibit, but again, you can get down and see these items at the state capitol up until the end of May before they head off to Philadelphia. We'll be back with more of KVNU's For the People after this new look at the news with KVNU's Will Feel Right.
Well, thank you, Jason. As Utah recognizes Sexual Assault Awareness Month, advocates and lawmakers are sounding the alarm over data showing that rape remains the only violent crime in the state, higher than the national average. Now, according to the Utah Department of Health and Human Services, more than 19% of females and 6.5% of males in the state experience rape or attempted rape in their lifetimes, and nearly 1 in 3 women will face some form of sexual violence. Now, conversely, other violent crimes in Utah are historically 1/2 to 3 times lower than the national average. Now, during recent Denim Day events to support survivors, advocate Celine Beth Olson noted that the statistics may not fully capture the problem's scope. Now, State Representative Angela Romero emphasized the urgent need for targeted legislation and funding separate from domestic violence resources. Well, in other news, the Environmental Protection Agency announcing yesterday that it is intending to roll back a federal finding that had labeled northern Utah in serious non-attainment for national ozone standards. Now, the proposal by the Trump administration would reclassify the Wasatch Front as being in moderate non-attainment. Now, Utah officials have long complained of being unfairly held accountable for international pollution, and they praised the decision yesterday. Tim Davis, executive director of the Utah Department of Environmental Protection, said that the shift would allow Utah now to focus on the 17% of emissions that it can actually control. However, environmental groups have vowed to fight the change during the upcoming public comment period. Organizers of the Sierra Club and the Utah Physicians for a Healthy Environment criticized the move, arguing that shifting blame to foreign sources ignores the local impact of transportation and industry. And finally, a 64-year-old woman expressed deep remorse yesterday during her first appearance before the Utah Board of Pardons and Parole, nearly 2 years after killing a bicyclist. Now, Michelle Margot Rowe is serving a sentence of up to 5 years for negligently operating a vehicle resulting in death. Now, it was back in September 2022 that Rowe had ran a red light while driving to work and struck 38-year-old Bradley Allen Collins as he was crossing an intersection on his bicycle. Now, Collins died at the scene. Rowe told the board yesterday that she had relapsed on methamphetamine following the death of her father and was distraught behind the wheel. Now, board members noted that Rowe has maintained a spotless disciplinary record and completed substance abuse programming while in prison. Now, the 5-member board will decide in the coming weeks whether to grant her parole or set a future hearing date. Well, we've had a wet afternoon as these showers and thunderstorms are expected to continue through the rest of the day, and that's keeping temperatures only in the mid-50s for our high today. Tonight will drop into the mid-30s, continuing to see rain in the forecast for tomorrow, then starting to taper off by Friday. Could still see a few raindrops, though, by Saturday as well. And it's Mountain Valley Heating that brings you our weather. Did you know they can help improve the air quality in your home with a steam humidifier? Yeah, give them a call today for a free in-home air quality assessment. It's Mountain Valley Heating at 435-753-5170. And I'm Will Feelright for KVNU News.
ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. Despite a ceasefire extension, tensions once again escalating between the U.S. and Iran due to the double blockade in the Strait of Hormuz. Iranian forces firing on a container ship today and are warning the U.S. it still has drones and missiles. ABC's Elizabeth Schulze says that uncertainty is driving oil prices up again.
We've got the global benchmark for oil now back above $100 a barrel. U.S. oil is trending higher to above $90. So we will see gas above $4 a gallon on average as long as we've got oil at that level.
In Europe, air carriers warning they're running out of jet fuel and scaling back on flights. And a source confirms to ABC News U.S. bargain carrier Spirit Airlines and the Trump administration are in advanced discussions on a financial package to keep the airline from having to liquidate. Another military shakeup, according to an administrative official, Navy Secretary John Phelan. The top Navy official has been asked to step down effective immediately. No reason given for the departure.
Spring is when everything starts to bloom again, including our confidence. At Bell Sculpt, we help women and men explore body contouring procedures designed around their goals. And for moms who have spent years putting everyone else first, sometimes the best thing you can do is take a moment for yourself. At Bell, your consultation's completely free. It's zero pressure, just options. You can ask questions, explore what's possible, and see what feels right for you. This spring, it's your time to bloom with Bell. Schedule your free consultation today at bellsculpt.fm.
Bringing Wall Street to Main Street. From your local experts in downtown Logan, this is the Adams Wealth Advisors Market Report.
Hi, this is Braden Barlow with Adams Wealth Advisors. Stocks can't wait to rally as the market plows through all the headwinds to create fresh record highs. The S&P 500 rose more than 1% to 7,138, a fresh, highest ever daily close. The Nasdaq rose nearly 1.75% to 26,937, a fresh record high. Although the Dow continued to be 1,000 points shy of its own record, it also rose 341 points to 49,490. The rebound came after the first back-to-back losses in weeks, fueled by President Trump's ceasefire extension and upbeat earnings reports. After weeks of back and forth, the peace talks between the U.S. and Iran broke down. The U.S. president decided not to escalate, but to continue the stalemate by blocking Iran's crucial trade route. Iranian officials hesitated to continue the peace talks, claiming that the U.S. is not serious about the negotiations. Meanwhile, the market has decided to largely look past the theater in the Middle East, focusing on this new earnings session. Banks have already released their earnings and have demonstrated how trading and wealth management units continue to be highly profitable. Tesla also released its earnings today, which beat estimates for earnings and cash flow. Its energy storage unit did slip, surprisingly, as renewable projects throughout the United States are facing significant headwinds from the current administration, which could be a concern, as renewables are now among the cheapest sources of electricity. The Treasury market slipped further. The 5-year and 10-year yields rose by 2 basis points to 3.93% and 4.31% respectively. There will be weekly jobless claims and some preliminary survey results tomorrow. Adams Wealth Advisors will continue to bring you new, relevant information. Thank you for listening.
That's your update from Adams Wealth Advisors, guiding your financial future one day at a time. For personalized help planning yours, reach out to us at 435-752-1702. See you soon, Cache Valley. Advisory services offered through Adams Wealth Management, a registered investment advisor. For important disclosures and more information, visit adamswealthadvisors.com.
Today's hearing aid technology can improve not only your life, but the lives of the people who care about you. Once again, you'll be able to hear the reason for their laughter and understand conversations. Dr. Paul Danes will customize a hearing improvement program to meet your unique requirements, whatever they are. Call Dr. Danes for an appointment at 753-HERE and let him show you how.
Bring back what you've been missing. Bring back Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology.
The Garden Guide with Mark Anderson from Anderson Seed and Garden.
So I bought this house in January. I have the worst lawn in the neighborhood, and I feel terrible. There's a lot of weeds. I was just listening to you talk about right now is a great time to plant grass.
Yes, my game plan would be spray for those weeds. We can kill 98% of your weeds with one application, and then seed right after that.
The Garden Guide, Saturday mornings at 8 on News Talk KVNU.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. You've all heard the news now, but what you haven't heard is the just huge wave of online discussion about it. And some of it is completely unreasonable on all sides, but a lot of it is interesting, and it raises some larger questions. And that's, of course, not the point of either the target of this lawsuit or the organization launching the lawsuit. But so the news is that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints entered into mediation with prominent podcast host John Dehlin, North Logan resident from here in Cache Valley. Dehlin is a longtime host and founder of what is known as Mormon Stories, a popular podcast. I've seen it described. I've never really known how to describe this podcast to people. I know people who've described it as a podcast for people who are having doubt or a crisis of faith. I've heard others describe it as critical of the LDS Church. I've also heard people describe it as anti-LDS, which I don't think that's fair. Dehlin himself was excommunicated, but he maintains that he sees himself as and plans to live his life as a practicing Latter-day Saint. He started the Mormon Stories podcast way back in 2005, and he talked openly in those first few episodes of, questioning whether or not to leave the church. So that's kind of where he started, and he turned it into kind of an online platform, landing space, if you will, for listeners who were having their own doubts. And this included at one time, I don't know if he still has it, but at one time there was a Facebook group in which, lengthy discussions and private, so it didn't become just salacious social media gossip. It was he wanted people to be able to talk with each other, and it's been controversial, to say the least, and Dehlin knows that. And I wouldn't characterize the relationship between John Dehlin and the Mormon Stories podcast crew and the leadership of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints as friendly, but I also wouldn't categorize it. I have no insider info here, just based only on news stories I've read. I wouldn't describe it as a friendly relationship, but I wouldn't describe it as particularly antagonistic either, on either side. So that brings us to today. There's my attempt at a setup for those not familiar with what Mormon Stories is all about. So the church leadership and John Dehlin entered into a mediation process, hoping to resolve some differences with some legal questions behind them, and those particularly pertain to the branding, if you will, of the Mormon Stories podcast. And the lawsuit itself is it mentions a couple of different things. And the lawsuit, again, is a trademark and copyright infringement lawsuit. And it comes down to an argument that they're saying that Dehlin is using imagery that is too close to official church imagery in their online branding, their social media accounts, their logos, things like that. That's what we're talking about here. And they also wanted, and for Dehlin, what he has said at least in interviews he's given since the news of this lawsuit late last week, Dehlin has said that he felt they were asking too much. They wanted every one of his episodes to begin with Dehlin describes it as a lengthy disclaimer that they were in no way affiliated with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And Dehlin said he thought that went too far because that means every episode of his podcast, which he produces and makes happen, begins with a message from some other entity. And he felt like that was an unreasonable ask, including a disclaimer, he said in one interview with the Deseret News. He said, including a disclaimer I had no problem with. What my issue was, they wanted it to be the first thing everyone heard. It was their message, not mine. And I don't know. I mean, put it on there, man. It was kind of my first reaction. But yeah, I mean, everybody has a right to defend what they feel is their intellectual property, and maybe that's what he feels like he's doing here. Trying not to really pick it apart because, if you built something that you're proud of, you're going to want to defend it. And I get that. For the church's part, their argument is from the lawsuit itself. As defendants are well aware, the public associates the term Mormon with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, which has used the mark Mormon and other names and marks incorporating the term Mormon since its founding nearly 200 years ago. Defendants, meaning Dehlin in the Mormon Stories podcast, use of church trademarks and copyrighted materials has caused and will continue to cause individuals to be confused and access defendants' content mistakenly believing it comes from or is affiliated with or endorsed by the church. This is not by accident. Defendants adopted a blue Mormon Stories logo with a light rays designed prominently, used by the church, showing defendants' intent to capitalize on and increase confusion. Defendants' logo was calculated to imitate the church's logos by using confusingly similar color, font, and other design elements as shown below. So this, of course, set off a huge firestorm of debate online. I've seen people saying, why not let Dehlin have, why are you trying to claim any kind of, ownership over the word Mormon when as a church trying to move away from that use of that word or being associated with that word, let Dehlin have it. I've heard others say, that they feel that the church should recognize no one's going to hear Dehlin's podcast and assume it's affiliated with the church because of the content. I'm actually going to defend the church on that one. I don't think it's fair in a question of trademark and copyright infringement and representation. Really, is what we're talking about here. I don't think it's fair to say, if someone listens, they'll quickly figure out this isn't officially endorsed by the church. I think any organization has a right to defend itself against representational infringement, copyright, trademark, or otherwise, much more than just hoping everyone listens and assumes it's not affiliated. So I don't think that there's anything wrong with this lawsuit, is what I'm getting at. I also don't think there's anything wrong with Dehlin fighting back and defending it and letting the courts weigh in on this, because I think there are reasonable questions that are in his benefit as well in this one. So, and the questions being, what are we going to call a trademark or an image or a brand in these situations? When, of course, we're talking about something like faith or a religion. And so it'll be interesting to see where this plays out. Where my interest has kind of gone with this one is that this raises a lot of questions about intellectual property. In the day and age when a person can monetize to the tune of hundreds of thousands of dollars, a TikTok account or a Twitter account, an X account, an Instagram account. There was a story just recently, I think it was just late last week, that Twitter is I'm just going to call it Twitter. That's what everyone knows it as. Sorry, Elon. But Twitter is cracking down on a lot of mainly conservative influencers. And that, of course, caused some rage online. But it turns out what was happening is that these were just a handful, 10 big influencers, that what they were doing, and they were making a lot of money doing this, is they were stealing other people's content, but changing it just enough, splitting the screen on the video and putting their face on the left with the original video just halved on the right, putting text over original video content or audio content that they wrote. And that way they could claim it was original content because they added something to it. And then they would just post it with one word like, wow, or look at this, or can you believe it? Or holy moly. Those are some of the actual examples that Twitter used. And Twitter said, this is not generating content. This is stealing content, and we're not going to let you make money off of that anymore. And 10 pretty big name conservative influencers suddenly disappeared. Because that's the only reason they were there, was to make money. So with that in mind, in this day and age, with the incentive for people to do, and I hesitate, I'm in no way comparing John Dehlin to these grifters online. But what I'm saying is the opening for someone to make a lot of money. So say, hypothetical example, somebody has a TikTok account where they're going to be making a lot of money off of this account, posting 30-second videos, and maybe it's as they're called online, XMO account. someone who has left the church and they're criticizing the church, but they've become an influencer doing that. This is all, again, hypothetical, but for the sake of argument, they've become an influencer doing that. They're making a lot of money doing that. But in their videos, they're constantly flashing, Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saint imagery, logos, things like that. They're technically making money off of that, but they fall into what is generally considered appropriate use because they're doing it in a critical nature. For example, on the movie show on Fridays, Andy Morgan and I can play, a large chunk of a trailer for a movie because we are talking about it. We're talking about that movie. Whereas if I just ran the entire trailer and then the radio group sold ads off it, well, the FCC would be mad. You see what I'm getting at here? The lines are blurred on this. Now, in the case of Dehlin and Mormon Stories, it's a little different because he has built this up. We're talking about the logos and branding that he has put on the podcast himself. And again, I think the lawsuit raises reasonable questions, and I think Dehlin's defense against the lawsuit raises reasonable questions. I'm not willing to pick a side on this one if I had to predict how the courts end up ruling. Because, again, I think both sides have a reasonable argument when you're talking trademark and copyright infringements. But the window is so open and the lines are so blurred right now, this is going to become an increasing problem, I think, as people monetize social media accounts primarily and use imagery of, say it's not even, something related to a church or religion. Say it's a product. Say you've got someone that just decides they absolutely hate Tide Pods. And they've gotten so big with their anti-Tide Pod message that they're making money off of their Instagram account. But in that Instagram account, they're constantly using Tide Pod imagery or Tide Pod label images flashing up, or even Tide Pod commercial text. Is that copyright and trademark infringement? That's someone taking someone else's intellectual property and making money off of it. I think we're going to see a lot of lawsuits along these lines. And I don't really know how you resolve this, but want to keep an eye on. If you want to see more about the lawsuit at the heart of all this, I've linked to some of the local coverage on our Facebook page, and we'll be back right after this.
News Talk 610 AM, 102.1 FM, KVNU.
Hey there, we'll get you back to the music soon, but quick question. Does your home ever feel a little off? Like one room feels fine, but the next room is too hot or too cold. You might even feel a draft of air. Well, that's not supposed to happen. And that's where Cardall's insulation comes in. Cardall's uses high-performance injection foam insulation that fills in the cracks and gaps, so you have a home that feels more comfortable in every room. And spring is the perfect time to get it done, before that summer heat shows up and your AC starts working overtime. Call Cardall's Insulation at 755-5012. That's 755-5012.
Which cookie is best? Oh, add cream to your soda or not? Well, here's something we can all agree on. We care about Utah, and it's in danger because Great Salt Lake is drying up, crippling our economy and ecosystem. Even worse, toxic dust containing arsenic and mercury will blow from the exposed lake bed, threatening the health and safety of local communities. This isn't a future problem. It's already happening. You still have time to make a difference. Visit growgsl.org to learn how you can help save the lake.
This is Jordan with Primrose Home Care and Hospice, and I'm here with Barbara. Barbara, how did you become acquainted with Primrose?
I had been trying to get another company to come and help me, and I had waited about 2 weeks, and I needed a bath. My neighbor suggested that she would make a few phone calls, and that very afternoon, Mark Stokes was sitting in my front room, and he said, "What do you need?"
Primrose Home Care and Hospice. We're your home team.
If you run a business in northern Utah or southern Idaho, listen up. Your customers are driving to work, heading to ball games, running errands, and they're listening to the radio. Not scrolling, not skipping ads, listening. That means your message reaches real people right here in our communities. And if you want to grow your business locally, this is where you need to be. Talk to us today at Cache Valley Media Group, and let's get you on the air.
That's it for hour one of today's show. If you want to weigh in on this lawsuit, by the way, Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints lawsuit against John Dehlin and the Mormon Stories podcast for trademark and copyright infringement, you're welcome to 753-5868. We can keep it going an hour or two if you'd like. We also are going to be talking about Department of Workforce Services' new Child Care Connection tool. Getting ahead of the school year wrapping up and recognizing the many child care deserts in Utah, well, DWS wants to help you parents. We'll talk about it